Alright, we're back and we're in the home stretch. There are only 3 more videos to cover the original run of 62. Maybe we'll move on to some other stuff. But first up we have a number 57, My Best Friend is Invisible.
But he's not your best friend.
He's not his best friend at all. He tries to
He's
be.
not really invisible.
He's out of sight, for real. Sammy Jacobs is into ghosts and science fiction. Not exactly the smartest hobby, at least not if you ask Sammy's parents, who are jerks. They're research
jerks.
scientists, and they only believe in real science. They would still like Star Trek then. But now Sammy's met someone who's totally unreal. He's hanging out in Sammy's room and eating his cereal at breakfast. Sammy's got to find a way to get rid of his new friend. Only problem is, Sammy's new friend is invisible.
And he's not his friend.
Yeah, but I didn't like this one very much.
There's a cat.
Yeah, there's a cat.
A tu brute.
I had so many problems with this one. I didn't have a huge problem with the overall plot, like the main narrative. I really didn't have a problem with. I thought it was kind of okay, but I had so many little problems throughout it, the way certain characters were portrayed and things. I mean, just one little thing that stood out to me because I'm like, holy crap, are you serious? He basically starts telling people about this imaginary friend and things like that, and people think he's a little bit crazy. Then you even have a school teacher who makes that joke about his
that was,
and it was
too far.
And the way she did it too, it was really it was
irreparable.
mean.
Yeah,
like it was just
that kid's gonna remember
mean-spirited.
For the rest of his
Yeah,
life.
like what kind of a teacher would do that? It was so unprofessional and hard. Like, she came across as a total bitch.
But I don't know. In your experience, in my experience, there have been some really sadistic teachers.
There are some awful teachers, but not
We're
really.
not gonna mention any names.
But it doesn't necessarily.
Have you had any sadistic
The way
teachers?
that came across, though, the way she did it was just what? And out of nowhere. And a lot of other characters were like that, to where they would do or say something, or there'd be a certain characteristic where it's what? Why would that person say or do that?
Yeah.
But. And it's not really, I don't know, it didn't really go where I thought it was going to go. And
I
hated the twist at the end.
Yeah, that was a little...
Yeah, it's an old kid's book. I could say that, the invisible friend becomes visible at the end, thanks to one of his parents' experiments, ideas there. And it turns out that he's hideous because he's human, and there had been the real monsters the whole time. He only has one head and whatever. And it was just another one of those.
And they're an endangered species.
Yeah. It's another one of those
to the zoo.
We're really the monsters twists at the end.
Yeah, but
and
it wasn't executed correctly.
Exactly. And the problem is there are so many of those by now. We're at number 57.
Yeah.
That for it to be done, it has to be done very well, and it's been done well in the past. So once you get to the 7th or 8th time that the big reveal at the end is that the person you've been following the whole book is actually a monster or an alien or a ghost or whatever, it has to be done well at this point, and this is one of the worst examples, and I think that makes it come across even worse.
Yeah.
Is when it's so late in the game, and it was just dumb and out of nowhere, and it just seemed like a...
It seemed tired.
It did.
He seemed like he was tired.
Yeah, it seemed like this
I
was
felt like he
this seemed like a phone-in.
Yeah, I felt like he was tired at
Get to
this
the
point.
end, and you're just I need to end this book somehow. He's a twist. It just done so poorly, and
they ate spaghetti and string beans, and that
I don't know why you harp on that. So.
It really offends my Italian sensibilities.
Yeah.
That's weird. Has anybody ever had spaghetti and string beans? Is that a meal? Is that a meal that your family cooks?
It's a big deal. But anyway, so what did you end up giving that one?
I gave it a 5.
I couldn't.
Burly.
Yeah, I
burly.
Burly.
Like burly.
Big burly 5.
Burly.
I fluctuate between a 5 and a 6. I don't know. So somewhere around there, maybe I'd drop it to a 5.
And you know what was weird about this one? Everything else has gotten like the names of towns are New Goshen Falls, and they're just the most ridiculous names, Dark Falls, and but this town was called Middletown. It's a very normal town.
Average
it was
America.
weird.
Yeah.
It was very weird.
I don't know. But anyway, that was not that great.
Moving
the next
on to
one,
something better.
Yeah, next one, I ended up giving an 8 out of 10, so much
I gave
better.
it a 9.
Oh, yeah, so much better experience.
This is Deep Trouble 2. This is number 58, so getting down to the home stretch.
So.
The fish are biting everyone. Billy Deep and his sister Sheena are spending another summer in the Caribbean on their uncle's totally cool floating lab. Oh my god. The weather is beautiful. There are lots of neat places to go swimming and snorkeling. Billy and Sheena are great swimmers, but even great swimmers get into trouble, especially this year. This year there's something really scary going on under the sea. The fish are all growing, bigger and bigger, into monster-sized sea creatures with monster-sized appetites.
Oh no. And this was yet another fun-filled aquatic adventure, but I didn't find it quite as magical and charming as the first one overall.
It's not as much of like a folktale-y feel to it.
Yeah.
But I love the like monster like fish story. Like to me, there's nothing scarier than the ocean. My sister likes the ocean.
Yes.
She thinks that's great, but there's nothing scarier to me than going into the ocean, not being able to see the bottom, not being able to see the end of it, not being able to know what's down there. There's so many freaky things in there. It's scary.
But,
you get that feeling.
Yeah, but I think I gave the first one a 9. I think
I don't remember what I gave the first one.
First Deep Trouble, but I definitely liked
I gave it a
little
9
bit
too.
better. You gave it a 9, yeah.
I like it for different reasons.
Yeah, I don't know. To me,
it's
overall,
a different story.
I mean, I gave it an 8, so I really, really liked it. I just didn't like it quite as much as the first one. The first one, I think, was more, again, like some more charming, more enjoyable, a little more memorable. But this one, I think, was a little bit scarier. So I think this had other points that were better than the first one, but had other points that weren't as good as the first one.
Yeah,
so.
no, I like it a lot.
Good.
I think it's different. It's a completely different story using the same characters.
Yes.
But the characters
are good,
great,
and they translate
remain
well.
The same.
So like it's like
They
the
do.
Haunted Mask, it's like the Mummy ones. It's not like
this is a sequel done.
It's not like some of the
really
other
well.
ones where the characters don't translate
And
well
I
at
was
all.
just I really loved it. It was a great story.
Yeah, it was a good one.
I loved it. But you know what I'm sad about? We were almost to the end, and you know what we're missing? Pirates.
We were talking about that the other day.
No
in
pirates.
the original 62 Goosebumps books, like they came out when we were in elementary school in
What the hell?
basically the early to mid 90s. And if you look at the 80s, like everything has sort of like there's that thing. Like we went through like the vampire and werewolf phase recently, and we're at towards the end of like the
Those
zombie
weren't
phase.
real vampires.
But no, but I mean, as far as like in popular culture, there are different phases and things like that.
Yes.
And this started as we were getting to the end of the ninja phase.
Yeah.
Like with the Ninja Turtles and everything like that. Like if you really think about like the original like Ninja Gaiden and things like that, there really was like a ninja phase in the late 80s into the very early 90s. And like and pirates, because you had things like ninja versus pirate, like the most ridiculous things. But like those were two things
cool.
that were big in popular culture as the series was starting. And it's weird to me that they were never used in the first 62, because that's something where if you're writing primarily to 12-year-olds, that's why the characters are always 12, because that's sort of like the target age, like right around there. Those are kids that were going to grow up towards the tail end of like the ninja and pirate craze, and or had like an older sibling that was into it. So it's like it's surprising to me that those are never really used.
Especially because we have things like the Blob and like a lot of really old school
but
horror
that's,
things.
To me, I think a lot of what he's drawing from are actually scary stories, sci-fi ideas, and things that he enjoyed as a 12-year-old-ish, rather than and transforming them into something for the new 12-year-olds, rather than just using the pop culture like horror stories of the time that these 12-year-olds had. I think that's where I get
it's
that
just
from.
weird, and I wonder if it had something to do with the age of his son. Because I'm not sure exactly how old his son was.
Well, they say in the back of these, and these are the original prints and things like that. And they say he's a teenager, so he probably would have been about a decade older than us. So he would have been born the end of the 70s.
So, but maybe he.
So yeah.
Because I would think you would have a pirate one because he would have been into pirates and ninjas and like. You would think that.
That is surprising.
It's weird to me that there's no pirates.
And earlier series, like some of the trends of this type, like I consider something like the Choose Your Own Adventures to be like the 80s version of this, like that popular kids story, whatever.
And those
they used a lot of like ninjas and pirates and whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like
it's just weird.
I feel like in some ways, I think that this kind of drove a lot of the popular 90s culture rather than being a mirror of it. Like I think a lot of the Are You Afraid of the Dark and all that other stuff, and the idea of like dead time stories and the horror for kids thing, I think this drove a lot of it. I think it was more of a trendsetter, and I think it was based a lot on stuff from his childhood, and I think that was it's interesting to see that influence.
Just kind of a weird thing.
Yeah. But anyway, we're now going to move on tomorrow, to the next two, and there's only one more left after that.
Oh my gosh.
So we were almost finally to the end of this, and then we just have a few more things to talk about.
That's scary.
So
That's scary.
yeah, we'll see you next time. Arr.